Hi, I'm Dr. Cynthia Phelps, and I'm coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. I'm a certified teacher of mindful self-compassion, and I've been teaching since 2015. I also serve as a volunteer and consultant for the Center of Mindful Self-Compassion. I work with companies that approach the center whenever they want to use the MSC practices in their mobile apps. I have so been loving leading the Circle of Practice meditations. I always choose the early slot, mostly on Thursdays, because that allows me to have an international community. And the community that has evolved, it's just made me feel so connected and wholehearted, like we can practice self-compassion together so that we're ready to bring it out to the rest of the world. So my entree to self-compassion is a little different than most people. They find it through mindfulness or meditation. Self-compassion for me actually saved my life. So I had been really struggling with alcohol. Been to rehab, did all the things. They taught me the logistics of how not to drink, but they didn't address my core issue, and that was shame. I can still remember exactly where I was sitting when I first read about Kristin Neff's research. My mind was blown. I immediately knew it was what I needed in my life. It was what I needed to address that shame that kept me stuck. And I set a sober date, started learning and practicing, and I haven't looked back since. And it's been over 8 years. Now, my favorite part of practicing mindful self-compassion is crafting that kind and compassionate inner voice. I have kind of a funny story about that. I was in my first MSc class, and I was fortunate enough to have Kristin Neff as my teacher. She was telling the story that's also in her book. And by that time, I had read all her research. I thought I really had it going on. And she tells the story where she was in the grocery store and her autistic son had a meltdown. And she modeled for us right there. She stopped and she put her hand over her heart and she spoke to herself. She said, "Oh, darling, I'm so sorry. This is so hard." And I just remember I was like, what? You can speak to yourself like that? So even though I had studied self-compassion and I thought I knew what I was doing, I was missing this huge important piece about the inner voice. And so that's what I really love to practice. And that also is part of my favorite self-compassionate poem, and that is Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. Because what it does, it gives me permission to be part of the world. And that also is part of my own self-compassionate favorite phrase that is what I'll leave you with, and that is, may I love myself just as I am,